Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to go over chapter 2. So in chapter 2, we're going to go over global e-business and collaboration. So I will go briefly of some important points in this chapter, not exhaustively on every aspect of the chapter, because everything is covered in the readings. So I just want to highlight some important points. So for example, here, your first case study that you have seen in chapter 2 is Sharp Corporation Enterprise Social Networking Sites and how that helps make this company more innovative. So one thing that you can keep in mind is that for companies, and we talked about that in chapter 1, one of the reasons companies invest in information technology, information systems is for survival, right? And we have seen some examples like Kodak and other companies that have been slacking or slacked in terms of investing in IT, and they went obsolete, right? And they vanished from existence, right? So as a result, Sharp company started kind of to be in that way where instructions for business and prescriptions for business processes come from the top down, from the top management and to the frontline workers who accomplish or try to do those business processes based on the descriptions from the top management. And that doesn't work all the time because the frontline workers, they know the business more because they experience it day in, day out, right? As a result, that kind of created delay in innovation, in made competitors be in advance or much better than Sharp. And also there was lack of collaboration as a result of this top-down culture. So then Sharp Corporation decided to implement enterprise social media, which is like Facebook. When you think about Facebook, but it is for corporate use, right? Where employees are basically the end users and they create forums, they create groups, private groups, work and non-work. So they socialize among themselves, which helps them actually to be more innovative and collaborative. And it helps actually identify who are the experts in certain subject matters, and solutions are provided there. As a result of this collaboration and social activities, the company created that innovation environment and culture and collaborative culture. So then the organization became very successful. And that's the reason actually why organizations invest in enterprise social media. So we talk about business processes. So as a business major, you need to understand what business process means. So business processes refers to a collection of activities that are required to produce a product or a service, right? And those business processes in other industries, they call them workflow, right? So business process, for example, of admitting a patient, and it goes through several stations or phases or flows, right? The same thing for admission. So for me, I'm talking about admission because that's one of the business processes I am in charge of for our Master of Science in Business Analytics program. And so I receive those admissions. Students apply for admission into our program using a system. And then those documentations are received by the graduate college. Graduate college makes sure that all items are complete, and then they send them to me. I review those packages of admission, and then I make the decision to admit them fully, or conditional admission, or reject their applications. So that's kind of one of the examples of business processes, which is basically a collection or a set of tasks that are done in order to produce a service or a product, right? So all businesses consist of business processes in different business functions, right? So businesses, they are basically seen as a collection of business processes, whether it is hiring employees, whether it is selling, whether it is fulfilling an order, and so on. So business processes can be an asset and they can be also a liability. A business process can be an asset when it is done effectively and efficiently. So what we mean by effectively and efficiently is that efficiencies means you do a business process with the least cost in terms of time, money, human resource, and so on, right? Human capital and so on. So that's what we mean by efficiently. Do it faster with the least cost, right? And effectively, you do it with perfection, meeting the requirements. So in that case, if a business process is done efficiently, effectively, it can be an asset because it gives you that competitive edge over your competition. And a business process can be a liability if it is done in a slacky way or delayed, if this business process is not done efficiently and effectively. So those are some examples of functional business processes. For example, the human resource, they do an example of a business process is hiring employees. And this is a great example of a business process for ordering fulfillment process. For example, if you're working for a Boeing company, and so it involves, and you are fulfilling an order, it involves several functional areas. It involves the sales functional area, the accounting functional area, and the manufacturing and production functional area. So it starts with generating an order, and then that order actually is submitted, then moves on from the sales functional area to the accounting functional area, where they check the credit of the customer, and then if it is approved, that credit, then it moves on to the manufacturing and production where they assemble the product and ship it, right? So this is a great example of a workflow for a work fulfillment or a business process. So how information technology improves business processes? Because it automates steps that were manual. So for me, for example, I work as a director of the Master of Science in Business Analytics. And one of the business processes I do is and I have been receiving, is to approve graduation applications. So in the past, this is what happened. The student who is graduating needs to go online and download this PDF file, fill out this PDF file, which is an application form, fill out all the fields, then sends it to me. I review actually that application request of the student. I look up the student degree plan and see if the student meets all the courses, the required courses and the elective courses, if everything looks clear and they are enrolled for classes. For example, if they applied for graduation before they graduate, but make sure that they are enrolled in those classes that they haven't finished yet. So then I sign it, approve that graduation, and then it has to go through the chair of the department, and the chair of the department has to sign it, and then the dean of the school business has to sign it, and then it has to go back to the graduate college dean, has to sign it, and then needs to go to the certification department, and they need to sign it and approve it to process it and finalize it, right? So this is a very long process, and it used to be manual. So in some places in the middle, something might fall in the crack. So for example, chair gets busy or receives so many emails, so that email might get lost, right? And might not get the chance to sign it on time, or maybe that PDF file was scanned and now it is a picture. So, and the chair or someone in this line of signatures is far away, they don't have access to a computer so they can sign it. So it takes a lot of delay, a lot of inefficiencies, right? So information technology helped us solve this problem. Now we implemented DegreeWorks, which is an information system that helps cut all those steps. Actually, the student applies for graduation through that system, and automatically that system shows what are the courses that student has taken, what courses are still pending, and then I don't have to receive that PDF file. I just review it, but I don't have to sign. I don't have to handle that PDF. I don't need to send it. So it solved a lot of steps. So information technology can help kind of reduce that work, because that was keeping my schedule busy, the chair busy, that the dean is busy, the graduate college dean is occupying that their time, So now it is much easier for us and for the student, and that application is done in a business process faster and efficiently and effectively, right? So that's what we mean here by the benefit of information technology in improving business processes. So there are some systems for different management groups. So, for example, transaction processing systems, those are the systems that collect data, entry data, right? So when you go to HEB or Walmart to scan products, that's basically transaction processing system. When you book a flight, that's a reservation system that you use, and so on. Just examples of transactional or transaction processing systems. And this is a payroll system that receives data from a database, which has information about the employees' pay rate, information about their address and their net pay and earnings and so on. And that payroll system then spits out the employee paychecks. We send reports to government agencies like the IRS, management reports, and so on. Just an example of transaction processing system. So there are different types of management of systems for management groups, including systems for business intelligence. So this is where you can think about Tableau, Power BI as an example of a business intelligence system that provides dashboards for information for decision making. And then we have management information systems. Let's look at management information systems in a little bit more detail, and the other systems as well. So management information systems, you can think about it as a collection or as a system that collects data from different functional areas and integrates this data into a data warehouse or a data mart that can produce reports and dashboards for managers, right? So we already talked about management information systems last week in the first class. So this is kind of emphasizes what that does. Remember when we say MIS plays the role of the heart to the body, to the organization. So it receives this data, raw facts from all units within the organizations, and integrates this data and transforms it into information by processing that information, analyzing, visualizing, automating that data in order to produce reports and dashboards for manager for decision making, right? That's exactly what MIS is all about. And this is an example of a report MIS provides. So, for example, what product we have sold in which regions and how much sales we had, and whether we exceeded our goals of sales or not. If the number here in the last column is 1 or greater, that means we have exceeded our goal. If it is less, that means we missed our goal. Decision support systems, you can think about these decision support systems as systems that help us optimize our decisions, right? And we use maybe spreadsheet models. We can use systems that is given several parameters or inputs, and we ask that system to optimize for us the best outcome, the best decision, and the best performance, right, that we can get out of it. So we use, for example, in Excel, we use what if analysis, we use solver, we use scenarios, right? And the book also gives an example of a decision support system that is used by shipping companies. So, for example, there is a shipping company that provides decision support system for companies that ship or ship products from overseas to the United States with those large ships and cargoes, right? And so that system shows the optimal speed rate of the ship, and so that way we can maximize profitability with meeting the schedule for delivery of that product, right? So this is what we mean here by decision support system, because speed rate is very important, because the higher the speed, the more consumption of fuel, the more cost, to that company. So they need to balance their costs in terms of fuel, which comes through speed, and meeting the schedule and their profitability and how much they need to charge, right? So those are the parameters or the input that are involved in the decision support system. So the speed of the ship, the capacity of the ship, restrictions in terms of distance, fuel consumption, cost, and so on. Executive support systems, those are systems that are used by executives, the executive suites, right? Which includes chief executive officer, chief information officer, and just kind of chief financial officer, just kind of to name a few. And usually those support systems are used for the long run. For example, what would be the the situation in terms of labor in the next 2 years and how that's going to affect our profitability in the next few years and so on, right? And if there is an external event like a new tax law or so on, and how that's going to affect the performance of the organization. So enterprise applications, those are applications that are used by the whole organization, and they can be used in multiple functional areas. But let's look at some of the examples that here, the enterprise systems in more details. So enterprise systems, you can think of an enterprise system as ERP or enterprise resource planning system. This is one of the main systems that you need to be familiar with, especially if you go for a job interview, because major companies usually use enterprise resource planning systems, which helps them to integrate data from all organizations in one database. And this enterprise resource planning idea started actually to gain momentum in the year 2000, Y2K, right? We call it. The year 2000, that's when most programs, and before that year, they were programmed until 1999 and nothing beyond. So that's when a lot of people thought that the year 2000 is going to be the doomsday because all systems are going to stop working. And then companies thought about, instead of having different systems for every functional area, and those systems we need to integrate, which is very costly and makes it very easy for systems to be down because of errors and mistakes and problems in trying to pipe those systems to let them talk to each other. So they decided, since we are going to reinvest in systems, why don't we invest in this enterprise resource planning system, which is one system, has one database for the whole organization, so that everyone has access to that database, and it is modular. So for example, the financial functional area, the information system functional area, the production financial area, the marketing functional area, all can use that system, and we have the same data for all of them. So it makes it much easier because we integrate data and we have one source of truth for the whole organization. So it speeds communication, speeds performance of that organization and business processes. And one example of enterprise systems or ERP is the SAP, right? Supply chain management systems, those are the systems that deal with delivering products efficiently and effectively. And then customer relationship management systems, they deal with retaining customers, customer satisfaction, and when we have satisfied customers, then our sales will be improved, and that's what we want. We want to improve profitability from our customers, right? So we use those customer relationships management systems, which keep track of our customers, right? And for us as a university, we need to have customer relationship management system that keeps track of our alumni, so we know what they are doing, and we can ask them to donate for scholarships for our students and so on, right? So knowledge management systems, they help make knowledge available to all employees in order to do their job more effectively and efficiently. So knowledge can be tacit, which means it comes through accumulation of experience, or it can be explicit, where you can just write it down, right? Like a recipe of business process, for example, right? But not tacit knowledge is the knowledge that comes from experience. And I give an example in class about how tacit knowledge can be for explicit knowledge can be for admission into a program. So the tacit knowledge, we have criteria, we need to go by that. So student has to have 3.0 GPA from undergrad in order to be admitted into the master's degree. They have to have a recommendation letter. They have to provide the original or transcripts from their original universities they attended and so on. Then they can be admitted, right? But there is tacit knowledge that comes from experience. So for me, I have the leverage to make decisions even if students didn't meet one, for example, the GPA. For me personally, I understand some students might not meet that 3.0 requirement because in their undergrad, they might have been through an accident, they might have a death in their family that affected their performance in school. They might have certain issues that prevented them from performing well in their school. So I tend to interview the students and understand from them what happened, to explain what happened for their in terms of their GPA, and then I try to evaluate their passion for this degree. Are they doing it for the sake of the degree, or they do it because they are passionate about it? They like to do. They are going to succeed, because my goal is for the students to be successful. If they can prove to me and show me that they are going to be successful in the program, I will admit them, even conditional admission at the least. So that's kind of comes from experience and tacit knowledge. We can kind of transform it. As a result, that's why we have systems so we can transform that or kind of exchange that knowledge with with other employees through different means like enterprise social media, for example, what we know an expert in this area and so on. So we have intranet and extranet. So I remember myself when I was in the undergrad, I just memorized the definition of intranet and extranet without really knowing what they are until I personally used them. So an intranet, you can think about it as an internal website. That website works if you are inside the organization, inside the network the internet network of that organization. For example, there is a web link that I will not be able to open it. It will not open unless I am on campus at the university. If I am at home, it will not open. So we call it an intranet, right? Extranet, you can think about it as a private website that is given access to authorized external parties like suppliers and vendors. So it is an intranet, but it is given you are giving authorization for use for external parties like suppliers and vendors. So e-business. So we think about e-business as any digital technology, the use of digital technology or internet for business processes. And e-commerce is part of that e-business. So e-commerce is basically the selling and buying of products online, like Amazon, like Uber, right? And e-government is the use of digital platforms for business processes related to the government. Like, for example, renewing your driver license. If you can do that online, that's considered e-government, right? Or the government has a website that you can download forms, so that's considered e-government as well. And we talked in class about the efficiencies of most states. They are lacking efficiencies when it comes to driver licenses. I don't know about you if you are from different states or you have experience with driver license, but it is the least efficient business process that I have ever seen anywhere else. I hope that one of you, our students, going to help them improve their business process sometime. So let's see. So the information systems department, so what are the most common titles in the information systems department or functional area? So we have the chief information officer, we have chief security officer, chief knowledge officer, chief privacy officer, chief data officer, chief analytics officer, just kind of to name a few. And then that's kind of from the top. And then we have programmers or software engineers, software programmers, coders. We have webmasters, and then we have system analysts. So if you are an information systems major, system analyst is basically is what information systems is all about. So we train you to be a liaison or a middle person who understands the both worlds. So the world of business functional areas. So you understand accounting, you understand management, you understand human resource, you understand all of that. And also you understand programming, you understand information technology, and so on. So as a liaison or a middle person, you can translate the needs of the business units or the functional areas into the programmer who speaks on the bits and bytes, right? And you can also identify uses of information technology that can help improve those business processes for the functional areas that has been done manually, for example, and how we can digitize those business processes and make them more efficient using technology, right? And then you have so that's the what is the role of the system analyst? Let's see. So that was all that I wanted kind of to go over very quickly, and I will see you soon.